race of the weekend in this second event of the season for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. This is going to be round 6 of what so far has been an absolutely Formula. Joined us earlier in the weekend. The conditions have changed somewhat. It was lovely and warm yesterday. The temperatures have plummeted by about 12 degrees, and the rain has been falling. We had some rain last night. We had quite a lot of rain this morning. It's still raining, and it's going to massively mix things up. Sales of umbrellas and ponchos are up. Sales of ice creams today are well down. So what do we know? Well, we know that most of these drivers hadn't been here to the Hungaroring before anyway. We know that the circuit has been resurfaced very recently, which has caused one or two drivers all sorts of problems in the dry conditions. And we also know that nobody has been around here in the wet. Oh dear. So what's going to happen is they've left the pit lane open for a little bit longer than normal to allow drivers to do some practice laps. So they do most of a lap and then go through the pits and go back around if they want to before they head onto the grid. And the race itself is going to start behind the safety car, which seems the sensible thing to do. There you saw on screen the new championship point situation with Max Gunther as our new championship. Yesterday, he's starting all of the races this weekend from pole position. It's not a very good start to the race, so he dropped from 1st to 4th, and then in the end he finished in 5th place. He had a similar race when he got pole position for one of the races at Paul Ricard, where he dropped back off the line and then got tangled up in an accident. So it was important for him to get a good start from pole in race 2 yesterday, and he absolutely nailed it. Had a great start, had good pace, and won the race. But the winner of the first race yesterday was rookie driver Ralph Aron, his teammate at Prema Power Team, who's rocketed from 9th up to 2nd place in the championship standings this weekend. So then, there is the starting grid as it will be, with Max Gunther on pole position. The Brazilian driver Sergio Sete Câmara with his best grid of the season so far, starting 2nd. George Russell is going to be starting 3rd, and one to watch, I reckon, for High-Tech GP. Guan Yu Zhu, who's another brilliant rookie that's come into the championship, only in his 2nd season of car racing, he's going to be 4th on the grid. Nick Cassidy amongst the drivers who'll be absolutely delighted that it's raining, because he's had a nice driver who got on the rookie podium yesterday, has already been a rookie winner. Ben Barnicoat, another newcomer to Ericsson, who hasn't done very much wet weather testing, our manager tells me, but when he raced in previous might be enjoying these conditions. Lance Stroll, who's in the championship mix as well, number 1, is going to be on the 4th row of the grid. Harrison Newey should, we think, be alone on row number 5, starting 9th, because we've got late news just before we came on air that Ryan Tefeta is not going to start the race. We know not why, but it looks like it's going to be a gap on the 5th row of the grid. Ralph Aron, the winner of the first race yesterday, is going to be starting this one from 11th. Callum Ilott, who was a race winner at Paul Ricard, but it's another one that's had a bit of a disastrous weekend so far. Another one pleased that his rain dance worked last night. He's going to be starting 12th on the grid. On the 7th row, we'll have Peter Lee and Nico Carey. Nico put back 2 places to have caused an incident in yesterday's 2nd race. So he was given some penalty points on his licence and dropped 2 places on the grid to 14th. We've got Pedro Piquet and Arjun Mining on row 8. Row 9 will have Mikkel Jensen on a row of the grid. Antoine Hubert, who had to change an engine after the first race, so with the 10th place grid penalty for a standard engine change, technically going through for 3 races, but that might change by the time we get to Pau. He is going to be almost last on the grid. Nikita Mazepin, the Russian driver, is last on the grid. He's got a 5th place grid penalty for causing an incident in yesterday's 2nd race, but he was at the back of the grid anyway, so it doesn't really affect him, other than he's had some points added to his licence. So I'm Chris Hartley here at the Hungaroring as we look at your man on pole position there, Max Gunther, the new championship leader. The wet Hankook tyres on. Sergio Sete Câmara is going to be starting alongside a driver that was twice on the podium in this championship last year, backed by Red Bull. Started his career with some Brazilian Formula 3 racing, came into this championship for his first full season, and has had a pretty good weekend so far. There's been some good driving from Sergio Sete Câmara. He's had a 5th and a 7th. He also picked up a 5th place finish in one of the races at Paul Ricard in the opening event of the season. So he's started to amass some points now. He's up into the top 10 in the championship. And there is Ralph Aron's car, which has been off the road. Now, just before we came on air, on the screens, we didn't see the pictures, but we saw a notification coming up on the timing screen to say that there was a yellow flag down at turn 3, and maybe 2 and 2. That's what's happened. That's Ralph Aron then, yesterday's winner. He's not going to be starting this one by the looks of things. Now, George Russell, one of several drivers who had a real nightmare with tyres yesterday. The circuit has been resurfaced. We're racing on the WTCC weekend, and the combination of the two things has left some drivers with real tyre degradation problems. George was one of them. He led the opening stages of race 1, looked very good, and then the tyres just dropped off a cliff. He went backwards, dropped out of the top 10 very, very quickly. And then had to retire from the race in the end. He actually felt like he'd got a puncture, but the car was going nowhere. And Nick Cassidy is another one that's just had a real knock on tyres and actually might not have been able to race had it been dry today, because he has kind of run out of tyres. He's been blistering them all. Arjun Maini, another one with similar issues. So they're all delighted that it's raining. These girls probably are not, because it's, as I say, a lot colder and a lot wetter than it was yesterday. Saw Guan Yu Zhu, who got his second podium yesterday in only his second weekend of F3. And there's Nick Cassidy, who was the championship leader coming into this event after 3 second-place finishes on the spin at the Paul Ricard circuit. So some adjustments being made there to the rear suspension of the car. The only good thing about all of this is that we kind of knew the rain was coming. It's been forecast for a couple of days. It started to rain last night, so the teams have had time to get the setups ready. Ben Bardicoat then, who is embarking upon his first season of European F3 competition, is going to be lining up 6th on the grid with the high-tech GP team, teammate to George Russell and to the Russian driver Nikita Mazepin, who's at the back of the field. And this is his best grid so far of the weekend. So we'll see how he goes. He's going to start behind the safety car. And as I was speaking to Russell Eacock, the team principal of T-Sport, before he came out to the commentary box, and he said he understands why the safety car start has to happen, but it's sort of, for people at the back of the grid who want to make up ground early on, there's an opportunity to do that from a standing start, which they now won't have. Joel Eriksson then, mixed weekend so far. Very, very good in the first race yesterday to get up onto the overall podium. In fact, 3 rookies filled the podium. Ralph Aron, Nico Carey and Joel Eriksson. The first time that's happened since Imola 2014, that we had 3 rookies filling the overall podium. Max Verstappen, the winner of that race that weekend, and Ocon and Poco were up there almost 2 years ago. And there is Lance Stroll, who is another driver being kept an eye on by Formula One teams. He's part Lance Stroll of the Williams Martini Racing Young Driver Development Programme, and he's in now his 2nd season of Formula 3 racing, having finished 5th in the championship last year with a win at the final round at Hockenheim, and he also picked up a victory in the opening weekend of the season this year at Paul Ricard. He starts 8th on the grid for this one, been picking up points. There is Harrison Newey, new to the championship, had a very impressive first weekend of F3 racing at Paul Ricard. He's the runner-up in last year's BRDC Formula 4 Championship back in the UK, but also did some overseas races with the Van Amersfoort team, who he's now with, Fritz Van Amersfoort's team, who just don't seem to get along that well with this circuit. Fritz was telling me yesterday it's a circuit where they've never really had the ideal setup. Doesn't know why, but it's just one of those circuits that they can't quite get to grips with, but the wet conditions might just blow it wide open. Callum Ilott will be looking to come forwards. He's going to be 12th on the grid for this one, but he's going to have a big gap in front of him because there's no Ryan Tveta 10th on the grid, and it looks like there's going to be no Ralph Aron next to him on the grid. He should have been starting 11th. There's his car on the back of the tow truck. So Ralph, who's had such a super weekend, I'm afraid, well, super Saturday and a super Friday, it's not gone according to plan for him here, and he'll be very disappointed, of course, with that. There is Peter Lee, who started his Formula 3 racing career in British Formula 3, now back in his 2nd season, and is with the Carlin team. And Peter will be hoping to come forwards and get into the points from 13th on the grid, the Chinese driver. One or two Chinese drivers that we've now got on the grid, with Guan Yu Zhu joining the fray as well. Very much an international field. Yes, it's the European Championship because that's where we race, but in terms of the drivers, they come from right across the world to be here. Nico Carey, who is the Finnish driver, who's backed by the Red Bull Junior Academy team, the SMP Formula 4 champion of last year, which was his first season in cars. The year before, he was or 2 years before, he was the Finnish karting champion, and he's been snapped up and kept an eye on, and has had some good races so far. Particularly yesterday, he finished in second place behind Ralph Aron, had good pace at the end of the race when others were losing time with the tyres. He and Joel Eriksson were very quick at the end of race number 1 yesterday. And there is Pedro Piquet, who is looking to get his first points in the championship. He's been getting pretty close to getting in the points, but has not yet quite managed to get up into the top 10. He's had an 11th place finish, he's had a 13th, a couple of 14th, and he's been in the top 10 at times. But Pedro Piquet, the 2 times Brazilian Formula 3 champion and son of Nelson, will be looking to get in there as well. And there is Arjun Maini, delighted that it's raining, because, as I was saying, Russell Ecott from the team saying they just cannot figure out what is going on with that car this weekend. It's not the driver. They know the car is normally pretty competitive. The 3 Bonds T-Sport team have huge amounts of experience in Formula 3. They're very much a team which centres around Formula 3 and have won various national titles in the UK, but they're having real tyre blistering problems as well. And Russell said, whatever we do to the car, whatever we change, all the normal procedures you go through to correct oversteer and correct problems with the tyres just are not making any difference. And he had Nick Cassidy as well, whose teammates were going very well. Ralph Aron was busy winning races yesterday, and the others were going pretty well as well. Max Gunther winning a race in race 2, but he just had no pace whatsoever, particularly in race 2. So Nick's gonna, I'm sure, be going for it all guns blazing. You saw Mikkel Jensen there, who has picked up some good points this weekend, starting near the back of the grids, alongside Alessio Lorandi and Scott Huber from Formula Renault Euro Cup. We'll be looking forward to the next event of the season, which is at Pau around the street circuit, somewhere he's gone well in the past, and he'll be hoping that the 10th place grid penalty for the engine change might not go through to the first race at Pau. There's a slight difference to the rules this year. It depends on the circumstances with which you have to change your engine, whether you take the punishment for 3 races or perhaps only just for a single race. So at the moment they're looking into that one, but he has to start at the back for this one. So it's going to be a start behind the safety car. There's a reminder of the grid. The times were all set in the dry on Friday, late afternoon on Friday. But for the record, Max Gunther got pole position with a 1 minute 33.9 and was 4/10 quicker than Sergio Seti Camara and 6/10 quicker than George Russell. But it was a session where lots and lots of drivers had times deleted for exceeding track limits. Same story in Q1. And so we've got a pretty mixed up grid, a bit of a topsy-turvy grid anyway. So all these things thrown together, the wet conditions, the unknown quantity, the fact that drivers are out of position on the grid, the fact we've had already various different winners in the championship, 4 different winners for the first 5 races, all of these things thrown together make this prospect of a fascinating race, and I'm really looking forward to it. So effectively the race has now begun, because we are starting behind the safety car. In these circumstances there is no formation lap, so the clock ticks down, and the new format for this year in FIA Formula 3 European Championship is that the races are 33 minutes long plus 1 lap at the end. So now is a chance for the drivers to try and get some idea what the conditions are like. There's a big crowd here for WTCC. Hungarian crowd, very noisy, joined the klaxons, very, very enthusiastic, and a huge amount of them turned out for the Formula 3 autograph session yesterday in the sunshine, which was great to see, because they recognise that lots of these drivers are potentially going to move on and become stars and professional drivers in the future. So about half an hour before the drivers were called to their cars to get ready for the race, I was down in the F3 paddock, which is situated in such a place where you can pretty easily walk and see turn 2 and turn 3, and then you can walk to the other side of the paddock within 30 seconds and you can see the runs through turns 15 and 16 at the end of the lap. And at least half of the drivers I saw trackside looking at the previous trackside action and just trying to figure out where the better lines might be, where it might be slippiest. And I think the overwhelming answer, Russell Ecott T-Sport confirmed this, was whether you're on the line or off the line, it looks to be extremely slippery everywhere. It's a brand new surface. It hasn't been through the whole cycle of having wet conditions yet, because it literally, this is the first weekend that it has been used for race action. There's been testing leading up to this, but it's the first weekend of race action. So the thought is on a brand new surface, it's going to be super slippery, it's going to hold the surface water to an extent, and it's going to be pretty treacherous. And with nobody having had any experience of driving on this surface, in these cars, in these conditions, then the FIA series director thought actually very much the sensible thing to do here is to start them behind the safety car, try and clear a bit of that surface water, try and give the drivers a chance to get their tyres up to temperature, their brakes up to temperature, and avoid any kind of carnage at turn one where everybody is going off the start-finish line all bunched up together. So they'll go for at least one more lap. It might be a couple, but we'll keep an eye on the screen to let you know when the race is going to go at green. But there's the safety car leading them through onto a second formation lap. And while we have a chance, let me tell you about the championship point situation in the drivers, the rookies and the teams championship after yesterday's points have been added on. So Max Gunther moving ahead of Nick Cassidy into the lead of the championship. He's now got 70 points for Prema Power Team, and from 9th up to 2nd place, Ralph Aron on 55 points, but he's not going to start this race because he's had an off on the out lap, and his car, last we saw it, was on the back of the tow truck. Safety car coming in this lap, there you go. So race control giving us the information, thanks for that. Down to 3rd place in the championship after picking up 0 points this weekend, Nick Cassidy on 54. 4th in the championship, Lance Stroll on 51 points. Has had a 4th and an 8th so far this weekend. Joel Eriksson is 5th. He was 3rd in race number 1, but got into some contact, suffered front wing damage and had to retire from race 2. So Joel Eriksson, rookie driver, in 5th place. We are going to get a close-up shot, a replay there. Max Gunther just slipping and sliding and having to be ultra careful not to run into the back of the safety car. And then just to wrap up the top 6 in the championship, Guan Yu Zhu has gone from 15th up to 6th place in the championship standings after his 2nd podium finish yesterday. In terms of the rookies, which have a separate point system and their own championship, well, Joel Eriksson is doing rather well in that one. Coming into this weekend, he's got 75 points. He was leading it. Guan Yu Zhu has got 75 points as well, but they were both overtaken yesterday by Ralph Aron on 80. So Ralph on 80 leading it, 75 apiece for Eriksson and Zhu, who are effectively joint 2nd, and Ben Barnicoat in 4th place on 58. Ralph Aron taking 2 rookie wins yesterday, but it's not going to be a 3rd for him today. So a chance for the likes of Eriksson and Zhu to close that gap back up in the rookie standings. And then finally the team standings. Prema Power Team, the defending, the multiple champions, have got 140 points after the first 2 races. Motorpark are 2nd on 106. High-Tech GP are 3rd on 77. Carlin with 73 points, 4th in the standings. Okay then, so Max Gunther is backing them up, getting ready to effectively start this race. The green flag is out, the safety car has disappeared. They're going into turn 16, ready to ramp up this race. It's already effectively underway, but this is going to be the start proper. It's going to be a great restart, effectively this for Max Gunther, but it's very slippy sliding behind as Sergio Sette Camara, watch, there's a spin in the background as well. Somebody's done a full 360 and got going again. I wouldn't tell you who it was, but there's such a cloud of spray that it just gets swamped up and you can't see who it is now, but it's going to be Gunther in the lead, Sette Camara in 2nd place, George Russell is going to tuck into 3rd position, then it's Guan Yu Zhu in 4th place, Ben Barnicoat into 5th, Joel Eriksson has stormed up to 6th place here. He's had a magnificent start here, Joel Eriksson, from 7th on the grid. He's just gone around the outside there and starting to close the gap on those ahead. So keep an eye on him. Lance Stroll has held station as well. And there is Harrison Newey, number 20, getting ahead of his teammate Callum Ilott, number 6. The 2 Van Amersfoort racing drivers almost wheel to wheel there on the slippy slidey run through turn 2. This is an adventure. Nobody knows how much grip they're going to get when they get to the corners. You've got to guess where to brake, where to turn in, how much to accelerate. As we see Joel Eriksson fending off the number 1 car of Lance Stroll there. And you've got to develop your driving as it goes through. The weather, the track is probably going to stay fairly consistent, but your tyres are going to change. It's going to be a little less surface water on the dry line, so you've got to just have such a feel for the car in these conditions. Avoid doing anything too drastically, braking too drastically, locking up, hitting the accelerator too drastically. The way you change gear, watch the white lines, watch the curves, they're all slippery. There's so much to think about. If you're in the middle of the pack, at times, you will not be able to see a thing in front of you. It'll be like having somebody stood in front of you, just squirting a water hose in your face, and you're trying to see where you're going over 250 kilometres an hour as George Russell slides one down the inside of Sergio Camara to go for second place, but he's too deep into the corner, locks up. Ben Barleycoat pulls off a similar move, but this one works and he goes through. So that is him now up ahead of Guan Yu Zhu and revelling in the conditions. There they are, running in 4th and 5th positions. Joel Eriksson still in 6th place, 7th place is Lance Stroll as they come up to the completion of their first lap under green flag conditions. Max Gunther is the only one out there with any kind of decent vision, although it's still going to be tough for him. Guan Yu Zhu gets a slow exit coming out of turn 16. That's Sergio Camara who's run out wide and is going to lose 3 or 4 places here. And it's all going to change when they get down to turn 1. So there is Gunther. Russell up to 2nd place with Camara going off the road. Barleycoat up into the podium paid positions in 3rd. Joel Eriksson is trying to be in 4th place here. He's wheel to wheel with Guan Yu Zhu as they make their way around turn 1. Guan Yu Zhu fends him off. He was under serious pressure as they came onto the start-finish straight, but he has managed to keep them all behind him. And actually, of course, gained a place in the fact that we lost Sergio Camara from 2nd place. Sergio crossed the line in 7th position. So, the top 10, Gunther leads, Russell 2nd, Barleycoat 3rd, Yu Zhu in 4th place, Eriksson in 5th, you can see him on screen. Then Lance Stroll has come up to 6th place, Camara down to 7th, Callum Ilott is in 8th, Harrison Newey 9th, Nico Carey in 10th place, Nick Cassidy 11th, Pedro Piquet 12th, Peter Lee 13th, then it's Jensen 14th, Miney 15th, Larrandi 16th, Mazipan in 17th, Huber in 18th place, and Ralph Aron out and Ryan Spector non-starting. So that is it. Everybody survived this green flag lap. There was one spinner further down the order. Couldn't quite make out who it was as they came out through turn number 1, but at least managed to do a pirouette and get going again, losing too much time. So the drivers work their way through this cloud of spray and see the cars twitching and dancing here. Guan Yu Zhu enjoys driving in wet conditions. Asked Max Gunther this morning, do you like the wet? The big smile came on his face. Yes, he said, I enjoy the wet conditions. And he's already 1.7 seconds clear. That's Joel Eriksson, number 22 there, the motor park driver, wheel to wheel with his teammate Guan Yu Zhu. Guan Yu Zhu has to concede the corner, and Eriksson will go through. And that's down to pick up 4th place. So Eriksson has gained 3 positions already in this race. Guan Yu Zhu, number 23 there, the Chinese driver, now having to try and fend off Lance Stroll, who is accelerating after him. Several of these drivers coming up through FIA Formula 4 racing as out wide there goes Callum Ilott to try a different line, to try something new, and it might just work here. He's got very good grip coming out of the corner. Callum might be about to gain a place a bit further down the order. Now look at this, Callum Ilott, there he is. It has worked. He's drawn alongside Lance Stroll. He's had a very good lap. He's got the inside line for the next corner. Guan Yu Zhu is just in front of the pair of them. Callum Ilott knows the corner is his. Lance Stroll knows it's his as well, so thinks already about trying to get him on the way out of the corner on this downhill run towards turn number 2. Super slippery down here. All the weight's on the front of the car. There's no weight on the back of the car. Callum is now going for another position down the inside of Guan Yu Zhu. Goes a little bit wide on the exit, but he might just be able to hang on to this if he can find any rear traction. Guan Yu Zhu doesn't give it up though and gets the place back. Fantastic racing from both of them. Callum Ilott now will come under fire, I reckon, from Lance Stroll on the climb up towards turn number 4. What a battle this is turning into. Stroll can't find a way through, but tremendous driving from Callum Ilott there to fire one up the inside. He tried to gain 2 places in 2 corners. One worked, one didn't. Guan Yu Zhu got his elbows out, and look at this for the lead of the race. Max Gunther was 1.7 seconds clear. At the start of this lap, it was half a second, and now it's almost nothing because he had a moment lucky, understeered off the road, used the escape road, got back on, but lost several tenths of a second, maybe half a second in the process. George Russell, hungry for a race victory, his first of the season. He was a winner at Silverstone last year, but he wants more. He wants the championship, and he wants to get it back on track. And Callum Ilott locking up, driving that like a cart. The former world karting champion, skidding under braking, running wide then over the curbs. He's giving it everything, but he's going to lose the place, isn't he, to Lance Stroll in the number 1 car, who is smooth as you like. He's just keeping himself clean this weekend, staying out of trouble and picking up points. So Lance Stroll staying calm. Callum Ilott is well worth watching. He's giving us lots of value, lots of entertainment, and he's going for every single move he gets. You understand why, because he's had so far a pretty miserable weekend with one thing and another, and this is a chance to just go for it. You know, nothing to lose really. Try and get yourself a really good result. Now George Russell pulls out of the slipstream as much as anything to try and see where he's going on the run down towards turn 1. This is for the lead of the race. Max Gunther looking for his third of the season. George Russell looking for his first of the season. The German driver just ahead of the British driver. It's Prima ahead of High-Tech GP. And those cars, both powered by Mercedes engines, making their way out through turn 2. Now you can see the back end of the car is just twitching all the time. He eventually digs in and finds a bit of grip. And look at this, Callum Ilott going for it again. That Stroll is also in this mix, trying and queue up on Guan Yu Zhu, is just about fending them off for the time being. Callum Ilott looks at the inside again. That Stroll doesn't know whether to look ahead, look behind, look in the mirrors. Can I attack? Am I going to be attacked? Fantastic racing this. They're just using their instincts. And we go back to the lead battle. We got Max Gunther and George Russell now nose to tail. Just a tenth of a second between them. If George gets a chance, one chance in this race, I'm convinced he's going to go for it, because he already feels like he wants to play catch up and get wins and get the first win for High-Tech GP this season. And he is really quick at this stage of the race. Max Gunther knows he's got a fight on his hands. You've got Ben Barnicoat in third place, and here comes George Russell down the inside. Wheel to wheel, a bit of wheel contact, and Gunther goes straight on into the barriers. Out of the race, front suspension broken, wheel dangling off, and he goes out, but George Russell has got damage as well to the front left. And that contact is going to make both of them suffer. It's Ben Barnicoat that's going to come through to pick up the lead of the race. George is still trying to drive that car, but there's no way he's going to be able to carry on like that with 19 minutes to go. Such is the determination. The safety car is going to come out. That might just, well, give them a bit of time to get the car back out. I can't see them fixing it and getting him out, him getting any points now. And George Russell, well, be absolutely gutted, as will Max Gunther. Here's a replay of it. George went for the move, he got the inside line, and then Max turns in. There's contact with both hitting each other, and George will argue he got the line. Max will argue he had to turn in, and in the end, both of them, I'm afraid, are going to be out of the race and losing valuable points. Ronnie Rosson's Prima Power team can't believe it, and I shouldn't think George Russell and Ollie Oakes and David Hales from High-Tech can quite believe the luck that they're having at the moment, which is not all good, and that's an understatement. Max Gunther is not a happy bunny either. He's stranded out on the circuit. So the one driver, well, there's going to be several, but the one driver who's going to be most happy about all of this is Ben Barnicoat, who's just minding his own business in third place. He was away from the battles behind. He was away from that battle for the lead, and here he is looking to win his first race, this Formula Renault racer in car number 24. So one High-Tech GP car out of the lead of the race, another one inherits the lead. Going to get a replay. This was the spin. I had a feeling it was a Prima car, and it was Nick Cassidy. Great car control, wasn't it, that though? Kept his foot buried on the accelerator, a full 360 pirouette, and he barely lost any time. So that was Nick Cassidy in the mist. Good to get a replay of that. So that was the car we saw in the distance, and then it was immersed by mist and spray. Couldn't quite pick out exactly who it was. I have a feeling it might have been a Prima car. It might have been Nick, but I didn't want to say it in case it wasn't. Where is Nick Cassidy, by the way? He's making good progress. He's 10th. So despite all of that, despite a low grid, despite dropping more or less to the back of the field, he's 10th. It's a replay when Harrison Newey and Callum Ilott went wheel to wheel. This was George Russell down the inside of Sergio Seti Camara. A move which didn't quite pay off. You might see Seti Camara. We saw him out wide on the circuit. We didn't see that he'd had a spin. So Sergio Seti Camara, we saw him at this point. Thought he'd just run out wide. In fact, he'd had a 360 spin as well. We saw this moment from Max Gunther as he went deep into the corner and off the road. And this is something we haven't seen yet. Sergeant Miney losing a position to Nikita Mazepin, the Russian driver, who has got himself up to 14th place. This, of course, the big move for the lead of the race. George Russell down the inside, got his nose in front. Max Gunther turns into the corner trying to stay with George Russell, and there is contact. Both of them with broken suspensions, both of them out of the race, and I imagine both of them fuming. Well, such disappointment. They were both driving so brilliantly as well. It was looking like a great scrap for the lead of the race between those two, which is now not going to happen, I'm afraid. So one of those weekends for George Russell to just forget about, get on the plane, go home, forget about it, try to put it out of your mind, and get on with it for the next weekend, which is much easier to say than it is to do. But that there are positives for that team and for George. He has been quick. He looks well capable of winning races. Lots of potential there, but the rewards haven't come yet. They will, but not this weekend. So now we have Ben Barnicoat as our race leader. In second place, Joel Eriksson. In the replay, the big screen there, you can see the Prema team. Watch the reaction. I don't speak Italian, but from the body language, I don't think they're that impressed with it. So Barnicoat leads, Eriksson second, Guan Yushu on the podium again, potentially in third. We've got three rookies first, second and third again. We've got Lance Stroll fourth, Callum Ilot's up to fifth, Sergio Sete Camara sixth, Pedro Piquet is up to seventh and in the points, Harrison Newey in eighth place, ninth Cassidy and 10th Jensen. The incident between George Russell and Max Gunther will be investigated after the race. It's not going to affect the results, it might affect something at the next race weekend at Po, but I mean, end result, they're both there, they're both going to get no points, and that's two leaders, championship front runners now, the top two of the championship, Gunther and Aron, who are not going to pick up any points in this race. So a chance maybe for Nick Cassidy to get himself back up into the points lead. And Lance Stroll, of course, is not very far behind as well, and looking pretty good in fourth place, looking for his first podium of the weekend. We've still got a fantastic race on our hands. We've lost two of the front runners, but there's lots more to take their place now. Safety car lights are out, so we're going to get back underway pretty shortly. Out of the top 10, you've got Nico Carey in 11th. Peter Lee is going really well in 12th place. Nikita Mazepin in 13th. Arjun Maini 14th. Alessio Lorandi's had a couple of really good drives so far this weekend for Carlin. Two sixth-place finishes. Some good overtaking. He's 15th. Hubert is 16th. Russell, Gunther and Aron all out. So here we go. Ben Barnicoat now is going to try and lead this restart. Keep your eyes on Eriksson though. Super fast driver, super determined driver. And he won't be interested in the slightest, I don't think, in finishing second in this race. He's just that sort of driver that's going to go for wins, I think. So we're going to get back underway, but back into the car, stepping out of shape there for Callum Ilott. Then there's a switch for Sergio Sete Camara as they get on the gas. Of course, the tyres have all cooled down a bit behind the safety car. So the grip they thought they might have isn't there as they get on the gas, and both of them slipping and sliding. They both might come under pressure from Piquet as well. It's going to be a Barnicoat in the lead of the race, then Eriksson, then Guan Yuzhu, then Lance Stroll. No changes there. It's side by side though for fifth place. Callum Ilott trying to go around the outside of Sergio Sete Camara. There's no grip. The back end of the car wriggles and wrestles around. Pedro Piquet is trying to find a gap in between them and get in the mix as well. Trying to get his first points, trying to get even higher up the order. Callum Ilott understeers badly there. Pedro Piquet has to go out wide to avoid him. They're both delayed. Sergio Sete Camara gets away from them. And then we got Lance Stroll hunting down now Guan Yuzhu. Lance Stroll, the Canadian driver, former Formula 4 Italian champion, former Canadian karting champion, on a mission here to get on the podium. And Twitch gender braking is Guan Yuzhu. Lance Stroll gets alongside him and gets his nose in front and gets onto the podium. Big positions, up to third place for Lance Stroll now. Closing in the championship as well. Early stages, but every single point is going to count this year. It's so close. Look at Camara flying through there in the Red Bull liveried car. And the motorpark driver, the Brazilian, still fending off Callum Ilott, but Callum is giving it 190%, isn't he, in this race? He's giving it the kitchen sink, but he still can't find a way past Camara. Pedro Piquet, revelling in the conditions just behind as well, has come from a long way down the field, from 15th on the grid to be in 7th place here, just behind them. So, fastest second sector of anybody for Ben Barnicoat. He's starting to edge away from Joel Eriksson at the head of the field, but this is the battle now for fourth place. Guan Yuzhu, Sergio Sete Camara, Callum Ilott, the Van Amersfoort car, and Pedro Piquet just behind the pair of them. He's running in the number 5 machine, which is also a Van Amersfoort car. It's got a different colour scheme, style of Brabham, which Dad used to do rather well in the early 80s and won 2 championships with. So there is that four-way tussle for fourth place. Just behind them, Harrison Newey going really well in 8th position. Nick Cassidy's up to 9th now, with Jensen in 10th place. And here is Sergio Sete Camara in this breathless race, running down towards turn number 1. Wheel to wheel. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? Guan Yuzhu. Doesn't look like a rookie, does he? Sometimes he looks like somebody who's been racing Formula 3 for years. And he still holds his own here. Callum Ilott again just behind. He's braking super late, but can't find a way through here and might just lose a position to Piquet. Yes, he does, into turn 2. And Piquet gets ahead of Ilott, and that's going to be for 6th place. But Callum, he's not going to take that line down, I don't think, for 1 second already. Look, he's trying to come back at the Brazilian. Fantastic stuff here British driver lead, Swedish driver second, Canadian third, Chinese driver fourth, Brazilians in fifth and seventh. Callum Ilott in the top six as well for Great Britain. Look at him, he's tenacious. I'll give him that, Callum Ilott. He is really, really trying here to get himself up the order. It's very lively to watch, isn't it? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the car control that he's showing, there are times in this race where Callum Ilott looks like he's going to be off towards the barriers and out of the race, but he catches it beautifully. And just pure instinct this. Some drivers love driving in these conditions. You can have so much more inputs into the effect of a race as a driver than you can in the dry conditions. And it is brilliant to watch. Great skill from these young drivers. You have to bear in mind that they've not driven on this circuit before. They've not driven on this circuit before in the wet. And they've got no idea what to expect. Yet here they are, driving brilliantly, most of them. That said, one or two make a whoopsie in the background and go wide. Here comes Callum Ilott. Inside line's covered. I'll go for the outside then, he says. With 10 minutes left to go in the race. Look at that front end of that car dancing around. And again, he holds on to it. Gets alongside the rear wheels of PK as they make their way through turn 15, climbing uphill now into turn 16, ready to set themselves off onto another lap. At the head of the field, the new fastest lap of the race goes to our race leader, Ben Barnicoat, 2 minutes, 0.9 seconds, and he's now 1.4 seconds clear of Joel Eriksson on that lap. Ben was 4/10 quicker than Joel. Lance Stroll, 2:02.1. He's not quite as quick as Joel Eriksson, so the top three is spreading out a little bit. Guan Yu still fourth, Sergio Sertin Kamara still fifth, Pedro Piquet in sixth. There's Callum Ilott in seventh. His Van Amersfoort teammates Harrison Newey just behind him and closing. And there is Alessio Lorandi, the number 4 car, run by Carlin, and he is trying to hunt down Nikita Mazepan, but those two have switched around last time. So Mazepan is up to 12th place now, the Russian driver. Only his second race this weekend. He was banned from the first race for an incident off track. And then he did make good progress in race 2, and then got involved in an incident and had to go see the stewards again. But he's putting it all behind him, and the high-tech driver is on his way towards a points finish. If he can pick 2 more positions up, the Russian from last on the grid will get some points, which will be a really good effort for him. So Mazepan fighting hard to make it count. Development driver for Force India Formula 1 team. Raced in the Formula Renault NEC Championship last year. And another newcomer, another rookie in European Formula 3 racing. There then is your race leader, Ben Barnicoat, number 24, 1.4 seconds clear at the start of this lap. David Hales, Ollie Oates and the team from High Tech watching on. Bittersweet this, they lost one of their front runners, but they got another one up front. In terms of points for the team as well, George Russell and Ben Barnicoat are the 2 that they've nominated to pick up team points. Now, what we're going to see here, somebody, Nick Cassidy, running out wide and losing a place then to Nico Carey, so that will be Nico up to 9th position. Nick Cassidy at least is in the hunt for some points here in this race, which he's been a far cry from, apart from for the first half of race number 1 yesterday. He's been a far cry from getting in the points, and has had just a nightmare weekend, really not able to show the talent that the New Zealander clearly has clearly shown pretty much every time he stepped into an F3 car. Lorandi is going to gain a place there on Mazepan. Those 2 making their way out through turn 16 and over the start-finish line. 7 minutes 20 seconds left to go, plus 1 lap at the end of this. Mazepan, the Russian driver, pulls to the outside. He'll have had a face full of spray going across the start-finish line. Tries to see where he's going. The outside line sometimes in racing conditions can be grippier. I'm not sure it is here, because when you've got a lot of rubber built up from dry running conditions, the rubber that comes off the slick tyres, that gets wet, it can be super slippery, and sometimes surface water builds on the inside line, so sometimes the outside line, the longer route, is the grippier route. And they're just exploring, trying different things out here to find out where there isn't grip. I think the answer is probably there's not very much grip anywhere at the moment, but they are coping magnificently well with it, these drivers. Oh, here comes Callum Ilott again, another big effort around the outside. This one's going to work, isn't it? I think. Gets on the gas coming out of the apex, accelerates through, and back ahead of PK he goes. So Callum Ilott back up into 6th place here then, having a really good run into the chicane. They go deep into the corner goes Pedro Piquet, gets on the accelerator, but he's going to lose 2 or 3 lengths there to the Van Amersfoort Racing driver, so that gap will open up. Ben Barnicoat leads the race, 1.7 seconds clear. His last lap, 2 minutes 0.9, a 2:01.2, 3/10 slower for Joel Eriksson, but a new fastest lap of the race for the man in 3rd, Lance Stroll, 2 minutes 0.2 seconds That means he was a second quicker than Joel Eriksson in second place last time, and quicker than the race leader too. So 2.5 seconds behind Joel Eriksson is Lance Stroll. If he keeps that up, he's got a chance of gaining a place towards the end of the race here. Here we see Guan Yu Zhu in fourth place, being hunted down by Sergio Sette, who's had just about, I think, his best all-round weekend in Formula 3. He's had better results, he's been on the podium, but as an all-round weekend, in terms of 3 good race results, 3 good performances, I think this has to rate amongst Sergio Sette best, if not the best. He's looked very, very solid this weekend, the Brazilian, which is great to see. So, Barnicoat leads, Eriksson second, Stroll third, Yu Zhu fourth, Sette in fifth, Eilert 6th, PK 7th, Newey in 8th, Carey in 9th, Cassidy in 10th place, Mikkel Jensen just outside the points in 11th position, and that is Mikkel Jensen in the number 7 Muka Motorsport car, getting twitchy under braking. Laurenti goes up the inside to try and gain a place, and in the end that's going to delay him, and he'll lose a place then to Mazipan in the high-tech car, which number 11 gets through luck and gets in between the pair of them. So that's the battle that's going on for 11th place, and then Mazipan runs wide and Laurenti gets him back. The Italian won't need to be asked twice, so at turn 2 he gets the position back, and that will put him back where he started, back in 12th place after all of that. So Mikkel Jensen did well to keep calm when the car locked up on the way into turn number 1. Laurenti got past him, but he just dealt with it very coolly. The Dane got back on the accelerator and outdrove him coming out of the corner. Mikkel Jensen there, the orange Muka Motorsport car, the German team, run by Peter Muka. And Ollie Oakes watching on here, intent. Can they get their first win? High-Tech GP. Ben Barnicoat's looking solid, 1.6 seconds clear. He was a little bit slower than Joel Eriksson on that lap. Joel, of course, has been spurred on by Lance Stroll, who's getting closer and closer and bigger in the mirrors as well. So only 1/10 of a second the difference, nothing to panic about yet. But the race is definitely not won. It's only going to take one moment at one corner, and you can easily lose a second or 2 seconds. We've seen it happen. Drivers all getting used to the conditions. It's getting quicker out there. Nearly everybody last time around set personal best lap times. So it's not exactly drying out, but it's certainly getting a bit more manageable out there. Guan Yu Zhu takes a wide sweeping arc coming out through turn 16. You're watching the battle for 4th place here at the Hungaroring. Guan Yu Zhu doesn't look like he's quite going to get his 3rd podium. It's going to be 4 really good points, another really impressive performance. He's 4th, Sette in 5th place. And look who's coming after them, Callum Eilert, who was a 10th quicker last time around. And if he gets a chance, we know he's going to go for it, Callum. He's just going to try and pick up as many points as he can in this race. Callum driving really nicely. Pretty aggressive. But from 12th place you have to be, especially when you're trying to go for the championship and pick up points after a bad weekend. So, wheel to wheel again. This is for 4th place. Sergio Sette tries to cut back up the inside, but has to be careful not to run into the back of the Chinese driver's car as they climb up now to turn 4 into this almost blind apex. Later she down the brakes, just clipping the curb on the way through. Guan Yu Zhu, Sergio Sette, and then Callum Eilert's with them now, isn't he? 4th, 5th, 6th places all together at the head of the field. By the way, Joel Eriksson didn't have a very good lap last time around, maybe a moment somewhere. Still second, but he's 3 seconds behind Ben Barnicoat, so the gap has almost doubled. Barnicoat looking more and more comfortable in the lead of the race. Eriksson, though, he's only 1.1 seconds clear of Lance Stroll for 3rd place, so that might get tasty towards the end of the race. And then we've got this second group of cars here, 4th, 5th and 6th fighting together. Pedro Piquet still in the points in 7th place and good 4 seconds clear now of Harrison Newey. In terms of rookies, they are 1st, 2nd and 4th. Barnicoat, Eriksson and Zhu. That's for the rookie podium. But here comes Callum Eilert looking down the inside of Sergio Sette. That's a late move. Sette turns in as he has to for the corner. Callum Eilert had to be very careful to make sure his car wasn't in the way there. And good thinking from both of them to give each other just enough space to get through the corner without any damage and any contact. Running out of time in this race though for Callum if he wants to get any higher up the order. It's been another super drive and a good drive from the back of the field into the points in the first race at Paul Ricard. He hasn't had to come from quite so far back in this race, but he's had to work doubly hard, I think. All those points are going to be well worth it. I think he's probably enjoying himself as well, he seems to be. Harrison Newey has got Nick Cassidy hunting him down as well. This is for 9th place, so Harrison Newey has dropped back behind Nico Carey. There is Nico in the Red Bull liveried car. Harrison trying to pick up his first points of the weekend as Nick Cassidy puts a wheel over the white lines onto the slippery stuff and locks up going into the corner, and that will give a big chance then to Harrison Newey to pull away and at least hang on to 9th place and a couple of championship points. Lorandi in the background trying to get in on the action as well. So Nick Cassidy is going to be very frustrated with that, but just lost all grip under those circumstances. There is Joel Eriksson then, had a bad lap 2 laps ago. He's still not massively quick, but he's only been caught by a 1/10 of a second on that lap by Lance Stroll. He's now 4.6 seconds behind Ben Barnican though, who's just set a personal best lap time. So 2 minutes 0.4 for the race leader, 2:01.9, a second and a half slower for Joel Eriksson. It's pretty impressive, isn't it, from Barnicoat to be that much quicker at this stage of the race, where he's really controlling things just in a world of his own. There he is, the race leader. There you can see the gap back to 2nd and 3rd. Still only a second, just over a second between Eriksson and Stroll for 2nd place. The clock has ticked down to 0, so next time over the line, that will be onto the +1 lap, 1 more lap to go in the race. 0, 2nd and 3rd. To me, that gap does not look like it's a second anymore as they come through turn 15 and go up towards the final turn of the penultimate lap of this race. It looks to me like it might just have come down by a 1/10 or 2 possibly. Hard to tell, we'll see. Coming out of the last turn though, it looks like maybe the gap increases again. On to the last lap of the race then, looking for his maiden victory to become the 5th different winner in 6 races this season, is Ben Barnicoat. We're going to get a replay of running wide there, several drivers, including Alessio Lorandi. I think Mikkel Jensen was the first one that ran wide, but they all survive. By and large though, excellent driving by everybody involved here to have so few incidents, so few mistakes. Brilliant in these conditions, in these circumstances. There is Lorandi, he's just ahead of Mazipan. They are, both of them, just out of the points, 12th and 13th at the moment. We're on the final lap, less than that to go now from the race leader. Just about half a lap remains for Ben Barnicoat to pick up his first win in only his 2nd weekend of Formula 3 competition, to add to this growing impressive list of rookies that have been picking up trophies this year. Nick Cassidy is winding up another move. Look, he's very quick. He's already caught back up to Harrison Newey, and that's a beautifully set up manoeuvre there through turn 2. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He's going to go through it into the right-hander the turn after, and he set it up. Sweet move that to gain a place and a couple more points, getting ahead of Harrison Newey. So there is Harrison trying to come back at Nick Cassidy. They are 9th and 10th respectively, so Harrison is still in the points, but in 11th place, look who's coming. Mikkel Jensen, the Danish driver. And there's not much point finishing in 11th place because you don't score any points. So if Mikkel has any chance going into the last few corners of the lap, I think he's going to go for it. Ben Barnicoat will almost be home and ready for the checkered flag. Here he is, right on cue, and it's been a smooth drive. He was 3rd, Russell and Gunther came together, but he's kept out of trouble. He's controlled the race beautifully after the race got restarted, and he's going to win this one by well over 4 seconds. So out of the last corner, and Ben Barnicoat accelerates for the last time. The checkered flag awaits, and here at the Hungaroring, Ben Barnicoat becomes a Formula 3 race winner. Terrific drive, High-Tech GP get their victory as well. After a tough weekend at times, that will mean everything. 2nd place goes to Joel Eriksson, 3rd place and his first podium of the weekend to Lance Stroll, who has actually had a good weekend, you know, overall in terms of points and gaining on championship leaders. It's kind of been a pretty solid weekend for Lance. I think he'll be fairly satisfied. Guan Yuju has held on for another great result in 4th place, 5th place for Sedi Kamara, Ilott in 6th place, Petro PK 7th, Nico Carey in 8th, and then over the line you see there Nick Cassidy to take 9th and Harrison Newey to take the final point in 10th place. Mikkel Jensen in the end was only 0.6 of a second behind in 11th, Lorandi 12th, Mazipan in 13th, Hubert 14th, Miney in 15th, Peter Lee, who was running just outside the points at one stage, drops to 16th place, and retirements of course for Russell, Gunther and Aaron. Well, what a race that was. I just had a feeling it was going to be a corker. The first race yesterday was fantastic. One of the best Formula races I've ever seen. Race 2 had its moments but didn't quite live up to our expectations, which had been raised considerably. But that one, I think, was, in my opinion, the best of the weekend. That had everything. It had brilliant car control, it had great battles, it had drivers diving up the inside then running wide, it had the drama, it had some controversy, and it was thrilling to watch. Brilliant stuff then from the 6th race of the season. Confirmation on screen then of how it finished. just under 5 seconds clear of anybody in the end to win for the first time in this category. Ben Barnicoat, Joel Eriksson and Lance Stroll will join him on the podium. And then we have Guan Yu Zhu in 4th place, who will be on the podium for the rookies, because Barnicoat, Eriksson and Zhu, 1st, 2nd and 4th, were the top 3 rookies in the race. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Absolutely love that. The highlights reel is going to be quite long for that one, I think, because on every corner there was something going on, and in several battles at several positions around the course. There is Ben Barnicoat walking back, and Britton McKenna from the championship gives him a hug, big smiles, gets on the scales to be weighed, and, well, that was a very well-driven race. 70 points then. Max Gunther is still the points leader, something to take from the weekend. Lance Stroll up to 2nd, quietly going about his business, 66 points. Joel Eriksson 3rd on 58, not bad for a rookie. Nick Cassidy drops to 4th place on 56 points. Ralph Aron didn't start that one, 55 points. Guan Yu Zhu, he's up into the top 6 as well. And that table will make for very frustrating reading for George Russell there in 11th place. No extra points in that race. And what might have been, got 27 points if he'd won that one, he would have almost doubled his score, and he would have been very much in the championship mix. But it's early days, it's only the 2nd weekend of the season. And for High Tech, George Russell, it doesn't go well for him, but it does go well for their other driver. Mazepan had a pretty good race from the back of the field as well, to eventually finish in 13th position. And Barnicoat will now be shuttled to the podium and onto the top step as an overall winner for the first time. He's been a rookie winner already, but now as an overall winner. Punch in the air, 2 hands, saluting the team, who are all over the wall and over the moon. And so much work goes into the preparation of these cars. You go into the F3 paddock at any point in the weekend, whether it's day or night, and there are people slogging away, working on the cars, giving it absolutely everything. So while we wait for the podium, let's have a look at some of the highlights from what was the race of the season so far here at the Hungaroring. So there is the podium, and we're just waiting for the drivers to make it up there. They're going to be so delighted, aren't they, to get through that race. And what a cracker it was. Can we have another race, please? Because more of that I'd be happy to stay for here in Hungary. Fabulous stuff. There's the results on screen. Barnicoat, Eriksson and Stroll, the 3 drivers that will be going up onto the podium. For the rookies, we won't see the rookie podium, but it will be Barnicoat again, Eriksson and Yu Zhu, who's had a super weekend as well for Motor Park. So by and large, it's been Prama's weekend. It's certainly Prama's day yesterday, but not so many points picked up for them in that race, which is going to keep the Teams Championship very much up and running. We've got the 3rd event of the season coming up at Po around the street circuit. Absolutely glorious event that is. It's on May the 14th and 15th, so in just about a month's time they'll be back in action to France. The Red Bull Ring and Spielberg, another fantastic venue. The week after that, then they're at the Norris Ring in June and around another street circuit. Zandvoort, Spa, Nürburgring, Imola and Hockenheim to round out the 2016 calendar, 30 race calendar. And there's Ben Barnicoat, the biggest beaming smile you could ever imagine, being congratulated by everybody at the team. There's Guan Yu Zhu, who's going to be going on the rookie podium. He was one of the drivers who was very much keen to go and have a look us all this morning, watch the other drivers in the other championships and see what they were doing with their wet lines, and it certainly paid off. He really did drive well. Great racecraft once again from him. A run and a dash to the podium. You're late, Ben, come on. Everybody's waiting for you. We'll let you off, though, given that you've just won the race. There he is. Fantastic stuff. And 25 points to put him right into the overall championship mix as well. Steadily picking up points yesterday. And there is Lance Stroll already there. Gives him a big smile, very sportsman-like that from Lance, who did drive really well, didn't he, to get to third place himself. High-Tech GP, of course, going to be the winning team, so they'll be presenting the trophy as well. We're going to have Gofas Ola, the president of the National Automobile Federation of Hungary, to present the trophy to our winning driver. And there he is, Ben Barnicoat leaps up onto the top step of the podium. Oliver Oakes and the team, a team which didn't exist 18 months ago, are now race winners in Formula 3. Collective experience and skills of that team is very high, though, and it's not surprising to see them doing well. Joel Eriksson and Lance Stroll making up onto the podium as well, and High-Tech GP are going to be picking up their winner's trophy as well as the best team. And we'll now have the national anthem for the race winner, Ben Barnicoat. A very proud moment for the driver and for the team. The national anthem, the British national anthem, rings out around the Hungaroring. The crowd very appreciative here as well, giving him a round of applause. I think they enjoyed watching that race, the crowd in the grandstand below me. And there is the aforementioned Guy Fesola to present the winner's trophy to Ben Barnicoat. We've got Zolt Gley from Hungaroring to present the winning team's trophy, which he now does. Zolt Gley presenting the trophy to High-Tech GP, and that one will go pride of place in the trophy cabinet when they get back to the UK. Ola will present the second place trophy to Joel Eriksson. 2 podiums this weekend. He's a bit of a superstar in the making, that one, I reckon. Very impressive stuff this weekend, and at Paul Ricard for him. And Zolt Gley presents the third place trophy to Lance Stroll, and now, of course, he's right up into second place in the point standings after the first 2 of the 10 events that we're going to have in 2016. So there they pose on the top step for a photo. The 3 drivers, High-Tech GP team representative. Motorpark have had a good weekend as well, haven't they? With podiums for Joel Eriksson, Anthony Carey and Guan Yuju as well. So the German team have been very successful, and now it's time. It's a bit early in the day, but it's time for champagne, and most of it, I don't think he's going to be drunk, but in the traditional sense, sprayed. And it's horrible, it's sticky, but it's fun, and it's been well earned, that champagne. Ben Barnicoat, the winner, backed by the Racing Steps Foundation there, who'll be delighted with his success. But this was the moment that changed the race. George Russell going for the lead, getting ahead, getting the inside line, then contact between him and Max Gunther. That's going to be investigated by the officials afterwards. I am convinced the drivers will each have their own side to that story, but the end result, I'm afraid, is that both of them lost a potential race victory and important points for the championship season. Both of them with damage. Gunther into the barrier and broken front suspension there. George Russell still tried to carry on. The adrenaline taking him through. Gunther was out. George Russell had to retire, of course, to the pits. And a massive shame for both of those drivers, who are very, very skilled drivers, very quick drivers, and both proven race winners. So the man that was third and was driving along very nicely, keeping it clean, was the man that came through to win the race, Ben Barnicoat, and he controlled it beautifully. Lance Stroll, seeing some of the replays that you've just been watching there on the screen, because of course they've just been busy doing their own thing and not seeing what went on.
Because I overtook Guan Yu, and then I was like, it's not, I felt like everyone was going to catch me.
And then Lance Stroll, yeah, I think just saying there, felt like I wasn't driving very quick because it was so slippery out there, but actually everybody was struggling just as much as me. And so now we're going to get the drivers up for the rookie podium. Lance Stroll pleased with this weekend, very consistent, just had the one non-finish, which came at Paul Ricard, and there Guan Yu Zhu and Joel Eriksson too busy watching the replay and then being called to get to the podium pretty prompt for the rookie podium. Here they come, too busy watching the replays there. So Ben Barnicoat, the winner of the rookies. We will get to see the podium, which is good news. Joel Eriksson, I think, might just move back into the rookie points lead with all of that. Second place, Guan Yu Zhu, who's getting used to this, being on the podium at Champagne. And so for a second time, Ben Barnicoat will get to listen to his national anthem. Well, winning always tastes sweet, but when you win a Polar presents Eriksson. And karting champion. These three drivers, all with an eye on the future and possibly being back here at the Hungaroring one day in a Formula One car. Champagne time though. Ben's already soaked, Joel's already soaked. Guan Yu Zhu now has to join in and get soaked as well. And big smiles there. It's been a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend for them. A challenging weekend, that is for sure. But it's been fabulous. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage here. Don't forget to join us in a few weeks' time for round 3 at Pau in France for the street race. But from me, Chris Hartley, and the team here at the Hungaroring, thanks for your company. We'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.